So this is my debugging duck, and I had it printed by a friend when I basically started my first job as a software engineer. And yeah, it's kind of special, and I have it on my desk the whole time, and it has sorting hat. I thought that will be funny because algorithms and sorting algorithms, and I'm a big fan of Harry Potter also. So yeah, this is my duck. But let's get back to the topic. Sorry, I had to. I just had to. I really like that duck. What's the day without a little bit of fun, right? But now, seriously, let's get to the topic that we are going to talk about today. And it's my career switch to software engineering. And 4 years later, was it worth it? So I career switched like 4 years ago. And before, pursuing career in software engineering and programming and developing software, I was working in sales. I basically sold insurance, and yeah, I sold investment funds. I worked for one of the big banks here in Czech Republic, and I quite enjoyed the job. But when I was doing that for quite some time, I started to miss something. And I realized that what I'm missing, the bit that I'm missing, was some creativity in that job, because sales can be very exciting, don't get me wrong. It's always so good feeling when you do a good, business, and you sell something that you thought will be impossible, and also like feels good to be a good like consultative seller, to sell based on the people's needs more rather than sell based on what you have in your quarterly plan. But to get back to the topic, I was finding it quite repetitive. No challenge, no improvement. And it was all the same. And I realized that the bits that I enjoyed the most were the bits that involved some creativity, like the time when I, helped the IT team in the headquarters improve some labels in the software that bankers were supposed to use to understand better the software, and so on and so on. Yeah. But it was not enough to just take the leap of faith and and career switch to software engineering. To be honest, I couldn't imagine doing that for quite a long time, because yeah, it just felt okay. It's a nice hobby to create some small application, but it just felt impossible with, especially with like a small kid at home. I had 1 year old at the time, and with all the responsibility for providing for the family and everything. But yeah, I guess the real decision probably happened with COVID. Yeah, as I said, I was pretty burnt out at that point, and COVID didn't help at all. Because if I hate one thing about sales, it's making phone calls, and basically COVID made us all move from face-to-face meetings and real-life interactions with customers, with people, which I tend to really like, into virtual world. And it was all about phone calls, it was all about Skype, and I didn't enjoy that too much. And this was like the last nail in the coffin. And yeah, I had to do something. In the end, I decided to quit my job, start learning, and yeah, 6 months later, I landed my first real commercial job as a software engineer, and the rest is the history, I guess. Let's get to the comparison. Was it worth it? Yeah, definitely 100% yes. And if you were just waiting for this answer, you can now just jump to the next video. But I will add a little bit more context. So let's compare a few things. What I've been warned quite a lot before was that the job of a software engineer or software developer, or however you call it, can be incredibly stressful. It can be time demanding, you can have some strict deadlines, it can be really demanding on your mental health, you know. But let me compare something. I think there are two kinds of stress. There is like a good stress, and there is like the bad one. You know, the good one is what makes things exciting, what makes you, work to 110% of your capacity, and that's what I'm time to time, experiencing in this line of work. Whether it's, because there is some tight timeline, or you are trying to convince your team about some approach, or you are just firefighting because there are some issues, some bugs that needs to be resolved, and stuff like that. In my previous line of work, there was quite a lot of bad stress, and the bad stress you can recognize by symptoms like I was really, really not feeling very well about upcoming Monday during Sunday afternoons. I had almost like physical symptoms like nausea. I was not feeling very well. I was rude to my family. I was always, nervous. And then it started building up and piling up. And as I mentioned, especially during COVID, it started piling up, and these states started not on Sunday afternoon. These started even on like Saturday. So basically when the work week ended, there was a small window of relief, and then I spent weekend being nervous about the upcoming week. I never felt that as a software engineer, uh, you know, and I think when you are not, you don't need to enjoy Monday morning. But as far as you are not worried about, new work week coming, you are fine. But when that's not true, you know, you should be thinking about changing your career, changing your job, changing the company, identifying what's wrong. It might be toxic manager, it might be your coworkers, it might be the work itself, but you should really start identifying what's wrong and do something about that, because it's a very slow process, but it can really damage you, and it can be really hard to come out of this state of burnout and all this negative bad stress. Well, I told you that one of the reasons I wanted to switch careers to software engineering was to do something more creative. Did I accomplish that? Yeah, 100%. You know, I was a little bit worried that when you are just normal like software engineer, you need to follow quite a strict guidelines. You need to basically implement something that someone figured out beforehand for yourself, and you need to work based on some UML charts and so on. But yeah, that's not true. You get general, at least in my line of work, I get the general what to do, how to do that, but a lot of implementation details are just on you. And one part that I really like about the job is code reviews, because I code reviews and basically pair programming, because I like to compare my experience with others, and that was not always the truth. Truth be told, in the beginning, I actually avoided code reviews from some of the team members because I didn't want to feel stupid. Yeah, but right now I really enjoy it, to compare my experience and my knowledge with others, and to just learn new stuff. Okay, let's talk money. I mean, one of the main reasons why people basically switch their careers to software engineering is to get better salary, right? So for me, that was not true for quite a long time, because my salary was quite good beforehand. I worked in sales, in finance, for a big bank, so I was doing okay. And actually, right after I switched career in my first job, I went like maybe 40% down, and it took some time to get to the same level of compensation, and that took me for maybe like, I don't know, 2 years. And yeah, from that, I'm steadily going up and up. um, Maybe my case is a little bit specific because I'm not a job hopper. I'm still on the same project I started working on like 4 years ago, working for the same company. So if I job hop, I might be doing few tens of percent better, but I chose not to. I earn enough. It's a good, intriguing, creative job, and not everything is about the money. And if you are going to this industry just to make better money, I think there are some other lines of work that might be more suitable for you, because if you are not enjoying this job for itself, I think you will quite soon burn out, and the money should not be your only motivation. Okay, what surprised me? What surprised me in this line of job? What really surprised me is how much communication inside the team and outside the team it involves. And I didn't expect that. I was not prepared for that. I still, even throughout the 6 months that I spent learning how to code and everything, I still thought that majority of work in software engineering is just coding, is just writing stuff down. But it turns out that quite majority of the work involves people skills. And that's kind of advantage for me, because from my time in sales, I I'm able to communicate with people. I'm able to diffuse some situations, to moderate some situations. I'm able to convince others. The only thing, really the only thing that slowed me down was my English, because let's face it, my English is still not perfect. It's kind of fluent, but not perfect by any margin. And when you need to convince someone, even in the international setting and international environment, as our team might be, unfortunately, it in the end really depends on your ability to communicate clearly and convincingly. And if you do that in English, you need to be at some level of English. But I'm getting better, thanks to working in this team and in this line of job for already 4 years. And And I think this is one of the biggest advantages of this line of work, that you really learn how to communicate and you improve your English if you are not a native speaker. If you are a native speaker, you have a huge advantage, because your English is already really good. Let me end with one thing that I really like. My friend Ivo, who was basically my first programming buddy in our company, and he taught me quite a lot in my first 2 or 3 months. He has this saying. He spent 2 weeks in like demolition and construction company as his summer job when he was a student. And he likes to say this was the last time he really worked in his life, because now he's a software engineer and basically someone is paying for his hobby. And luckily, I'm feeling the same. I'm a software engineer. I really love this line of job, and that's the best thing that could have happened to me, because I enjoy it. It's kind of my hobby, and someone is willing to pay me for that, for doing stuff that I love. And that's important.